Dan Landing, year 3. We're checking out the Ducks. They're on the practice field in Eugene. We got our guy Spencer McLaughlin here from Locked On Ducks, Locked On College Football. Hey, if we want to talk Oregon football, this is the guy to go to. Spencer, appreciate you stopping by, man.
Yeah, great to be back with you, Mark. Exciting to have, at least some semblance of football to talk about as opposed to the 3 months of speculation and such. But, the spring game on April 27th, it's a month away as we record this, and it's a day that everyone is looking forward to, let's just say.
Absolutely. And I got to admit, though, I look forward to it. And then it gets here and I turn it on. And after about 3 plays, I do have to remind myself, okay, this isn't really football. So let's take it in for what it is.
Yeah, it's close. It's closer than no football. That's about all you can. Well, it's not all you can say, but I will be watching every single play in the greatest detail imaginable.
Fortunately, most of the networks have caught on to that. It's a TV show. Let's talk to coaches. Let's develop storylines. We're not broadcasting a football game here. So that's
I think the way they've approached it is good. You got celebrity coaches from the program and everything like that, and it's about the fans and showing them what they have to look forward to in the fall.
Dylan Gabriel has seen a few spring games himself in a few different locations. He's kind of made his trips across the country, and he's made it all the way out to the West Coast now. And of course, we're going to pop up his numbers here. I went the career route with everybody else, 2023, but I just thought I'd wow people with the sheer volume of statistics that this guy has amassed. But then again, he replaces a guy that's pretty much done the same. Just your thoughts about Bo Nix, Dylan Gabriel seem to be pretty much on the same level.
I think they're on a similar level. I think Nix is a touch higher. I think his physical traits are greater than Gabriel. I think he's got, just a little bit more speed. He's certainly got more size and a bit more arm strength. But, that's not to say that Dylan Gabriel isn't a good quarterback. He was one of the most highly coveted guys in the portal for a reason, and his experience is part of that, but his production is a part of that as well. You look at what he did last season and the year prior at Oklahoma, he was not the biggest issue that the Sooners had. And when he missed that Texas game, they got blown out. And when he came back for the Texas game, they won. So his impact on the field is pretty evident. He almost completed 70% of his passes last year. He could go over that number in this system that Bo Nix ran, in which, Nix hadn't completed a lot of passes when he was at Auburn. Gets to Oregon, new system, new scheme, new players around you, new head coach, everything. And he, of course, thrived. And, I think Gabriel can step in and, just be a plug-and-play starter who what you're going to get. You know what you're going to get from him, and I'm excited to have him, and certainly I think that Oregon is as well.
Of course, Ty Thompson said, okay, enough of this. I'm out of here. I've been waiting quite a long time. And Oregon, while other teams across the country are battling it out for that number 1 quarterback spot or trying to figure out what they're going to have down the line, Oregon, now things change in college football like that, seem to be set up for today and set up for tomorrow, of course, with Dante Moore. And Ducks fans had to be excited about that acquisition.
Yeah, I think so. It's a very unique situation. You don't just bring in someone who is a high-level backup quarterback who's got immense talent and starting experience, but you bring in somebody who is, penciled, not written in pen, but penciled in to start for your team in 2025. I don't know, other than Ohio State, that anybody in the country has done that. The Buckeyes bring in Will Howard for his final year. Then for next season, they've got Aaron Nolan, they've got Devin Brown, they've got Julian Sayin, the Alabama transfer. It'll be one of those guys. And so even that is, more of an open question, I think, than, what the Ducks have got here with the Dante Moore situation. So if, God forbid, Dylan Gabriel goes down with an injury, you have a talented guy who has got starting experience at the Power 5 level. And, for next season, you could have him learning behind a veteran quarterback in a quarterback-friendly system, taking the time to really understand the scheme, and then step in with all the talent in the world. I mean, he could be an NFL sort of guy. Dante Moore could be if he reaches his full potential. And I think that this is a great quarterback room, one of the best in all of college football, maybe the best if you go 1-2. I mean, Ohio State's got plenty of talent, but they don't have anyone with Dante Moore's experience there. Now, it wasn't all pretty experience, but still, lot of time young backup quarterbacks are, well, he's talented, but we don't know what we've got, right? And so, Moore as a backup, I think is better than Ty Thompson as a backup. And I'm very excited to see what Ty Thompson does at Tulane. I think all Oregon fans are rooting for that kid. He stuck it out at Oregon and wanted to have his shot. Don't know what exactly that shot looked like, but certainly, I could have seen a world where he was Oregon's starting quarterback in 2024. Instead, it ends up being Dillon Gabriel, and I think that for the Ducks, that is a really good situation, and I hope that Ty Thompson succeeds. But as for the Ducks, their quarterback room, once again, really, really strong up and down the depth chart.
Spencer, you mentioned it not always looking pretty for Dante Moore, but that's the case for most first-time starting quarterbacks, especially as a true freshman. At one point, it looked like he was vying for the all-time pick six record. But do you feel with Dan Lanning, obviously he's a defensive guy, that they have the system in place, quarterback development tools as a coaching staff to get him where he would eventually need to be?
Yeah, Will Stein is the key as offensive coordinator, and Stein's one of the best in college football. In his first year at the power level as an OC last year, coming over from UTSA, finished somewhere inside the top 8 to 10, I think, for the Broyles Award, given to the nation's top assistant or coach or coordinator. And, he was well deserving of that. He was behind Bo Nix, completing the highest percentage of passes of any quarterback in the history of college football last year at about 77.4%. And I think that his track record with quarterbacks is very good. His track record with offenses across the board, not just being a passing attack or just a rushing attack, but having a good amount of balance. It's very strong in his last two stops, including Oregon and UTSA. So I like Stein a lot as an OC, and I think that Dante Moore getting the chance to understand why he calls plays the way he does, how to execute his offense, and it's a very execution-driven offense. It's, hey, the ball is designed to go here. You need to be able, when Bo Nix was at his best last year, survey the defense, understand the coverage, the route concepts, and the play that you have, any checks at the line of scrimmage, and know exactly where to go. And Bo Nix had a pretty good amount of freedom last year in the offense. And Dillon Gabriel, according to Will Stein, is going to have that again, and all the quarterbacks will. And that's, integral to understanding what they are trying to accomplish on that side of the ball. And Bo Nix put on a masterclass last year. And, if Dante Moore had been able to watch that, heck, maybe he'd be Oregon starter this year if he'd never decommitted from the Ducks in the first place. But, Dillingham went down to ASU, so I understood it. But I think that he's in a situation now where you've got a veteran quarterback, you've got the offensive coordinator, you got a head coach who, is still involved with the development of the quarterback, certainly, and has got a good track record, at least so far, in his head coaching tenure in the 2 years that Bo Nix had. You look at what he did with the Ducks compared to what he did at Auburn, night and day. And I think that Dante Moore, going into 2025, the pass catchers will be a question mark, because the top 4 pass catchers from this year will probably all be gone. That'll be Evan Stewart, wide receiver, Tez Johnson, Trayshawn Holden, and then Terrence Ferguson, the tight end. I think those will be Oregon's top 4 pass catchers. T. Ferg's the tight end. So, there'll be some new faces there, but it'll be a lot of guys who Dante Moore is running with at practice. He'll run with the twos and, develop chemistry with those guys. And I think that is going to be a talented room, just might not be quite as experienced in his first year starting for the Ducks in 2025.
And one other note before we get to the rest of the weapons that you're alluding to there, Spencer. Will Stein being who he is, and Dillon Gabriel, despite all those reps as a veteran quarterback, he's been known to go into a funk here and there and sail some throws. So maybe they tighten some things up with him, and he's able to be just a little bit better. It can't be too much better, but a little bit better for this Oregon offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bo Nix was pretty perfect for what they were doing last year. I don't know that you can be better than what Bo Nix was. The Pac-12 championship game, everyone would like to have that one back, and still they lost by just 3 points. But, if Oregon wins that game, Bo Nix wins the Heisman Trophy. And you can't get better than that. So I don't expect, and I don't think Oregon needs Dillon Gabriel to be at that level. Does he have to be an above-average quarterback? Yeah, he should be one of the 3 best in the Big Ten, which is actually a pretty weak quarterback conference, but Gabriel should be the best quarterback on the field in just about every game that he plays, right? You can look at Will Howard at Ohio State and say, all right, might depend on the day, because I think Howard's got more potential than what he showcased at Kansas State. He's got better weapons, better offensive staff behind him. up there in Columbus. So, that's one option for, a quarterback that could be better than Gabriel on the field. But everywhere else you look, Will Rogers at Washington, very solid. I think he's very solid. I like Gabriel a little bit more, but I think Gabriel and Rogers are kind of in the same sort of class. They're both experienced veteran guys playing their last years of college football. They've thrown a lot of passes, been very productive, and they've learned from some good coaches. Will Rogers was under the late Mike Leach at Mississippi State. That's as good of an offensive mind as you'll find in all of college football, really, history. So I think that for Gabriel, the standard should be being well above average, but it doesn't need to be a Heisman expectation. That's not where my mind is at with him, and I don't think Oregon necessarily needs him to play at a Heisman level in order to make the playoff.
I think you're being a bit conservative and a bit kind to the rest of the Big Ten, because I think Dillon Gabriel may not have the highest ceiling, as you just pointed out, but I think he's the surest commodity at quarterback in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Will Howard fan, so I put them in the same class, but certainly I was actually looking at this on Locked On College Football just the other day, and yeah, the Big Ten lineup of quarterbacks is not very impressive. You got some guys that have got high ceilings, but we don't really know what the floor of production is at. Guys like Aiden Childs at Michigan State, Miller Moss at USC. Then you've got the high floor guys like Dillon Gabriel, like Will Howard, like Will Rogers. I think Curtis Rourke at Indiana, who transfers from Ohio, very experienced veteran guy, high floor, but I don't know that any of those guys have a supremely high ceiling. And then you have a wild card like Dylan Raiola at Nebraska. And, I was talking about it in the context of the Cornhuskers' new signal caller of, whether or not he could be a top 3 or 4 quarterback in the Big Ten. He could. I mean, he could right away. If he is someone who it just, the light goes on and it clicks and you're engaging in college football in a way that makes you comfortable and explosive at the quarterback position, yeah, Raiola could be one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten, because it's just not a very deep quarterback conference. And that's going to be a big change for Duck fans who were in the best quarterback conference in recent memory, frankly, last year in the Pac-12. It was crazy how good the quarterbacks were in that league. You had Caleb Williams, you had Michael Penix, you had Bo Nix, you had Shedeur Sanders, you had Cam Ward up at Washington State. It was just a really, really good league. And Cam Rising, Utah didn't even play because of injury. So I think it is going to be different in that sense, but I think Gabriel on any given day is the best quarterback in the Big Ten. I don't know that it's every day, but I think it's a lot more days than not.